Hello, everybody. Ryan should be back momentarily. Oh, there he is. He's just got my name. All right. Hey, welcome to the Antisyphon address space layout randomization show. So what that means is that we never know what we're going to talk about until it's time to talk about. But at some point, I think we'll have a schedule and we'll say, we're going to talk about this. So that way you know what we're going to talk about. Today we got Steve Borosh. Borosh.
Yeah,
Borosh.
don't overpronounce the second O.
Okay. All right. Then we got
It's almost
Serena
like the
with us.
soup.
Okay. And then
I go with
Ryan.
the car. I go with Porsche, but with a B.
Oh.
When you say Porsche wrong.
Yeah, Porsche.
Yeah, when you say it wrong.
All right. So it's good to see everybody. Welcome back today. If you can watch us on Twitch, on YouTube, on LinkedIn Live. And so it's great to have you here, regardless of where you're coming from. Steve's going to talk to us today about
Phishing with Microsoft 365 and Microsoft device codes.
All right, so we're going to just jump right into the content today. Steve's going to do a demo, even though he wrote up a whole bunch of slides for this. And then at the last minute, we're like, no, we don't use slides. No, there's no slides.
No slides.
And that's okay. Steve's handle right there. He said, good evening, in case you need to know.
Yeah, I think that stands for reverse shell.
It does.
Was my nickname in high school. All right. So Ninaratu, thanks for following. Jay Tadakuda Ramaka. Thanks for following. Vamtrock, thanks for following. The real Audi. Adel. The real Adel. Thanks for following. All right, Steve, it's all yours.
All right. Thank you, Ryan. If I could get my screen, please.
Yeah. Boom.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. First and foremost, I appreciate everybody for showing up. I love teaching. I love basically dumping my brain contents out there into the wild and let everybody chew on it a little bit and see what they come up with. So I do teach for Antisyphon. I have a class, Enterprise Access, Enterprise Attack, Initial Access, that I teach through Antisyphon. So please check that out. I do have a few training courses coming up, and some of this stuff is taken from that class in a way. So hope you guys like this. I will be demonstrating how to spoof Microsoft 365 and how to send Microsoft device codes, and we'll talk a little bit about what that is. Only have about 30 minutes here, so I'm going to plow through this. Jason's going to probably interrupt me for some awesome stuff in between a little bit of some of these segments. So I'll get started. So why spoof Microsoft 365? Well, if we are on an offensive engagement, which is what I typically do, red teaming and penetration testing, and I want to send an email phish into an organization, what better way to do it than to look like I'm coming from inside the organization already? So we build that trust by spoofing. We can spoof and maybe look like we're coming from another external organization that somebody would trust, like Microsoft.com. I'll do that here and show you how that looks. And there's a few caveats to why and how this works we'll talk about. But first and foremost, I want to talk about the overview of what Microsoft 365 and our options for sending phishes are. So the way we're doing this is through how you would set up a printer, basically. Set up a printer, point it to your Microsoft 365 smart host, which I'll show you here momentarily. And you can send print and basically say, hey, send this to Joe in accounting. And this is from Jane in HR. And Joe in accounting will get the email, and it'll look like it came from Jane in HR. And we do this without authentication. So there's two ways to send via SMTP, which is what we're doing here. We'll be sending either through smtp.office365.com. That is for authenticated sending. So where you're actually signing in and sending an email and it's validating that it's you. Or you can send unauthenticated through direct send. So you can send to internal recipients. You can spoof the from address to be an external from or an internal from. And we'll connect to a smart host. So what do I talk about? What am I talking about with a smart host? Well, first let's cover what an authenticated connection looks like. And I'll post, Jason, do you want me to post links into chat from some of these things as well while I'm going?
Yeah, you can drop them into that private chat. We can share them out.
All right, great.
I was on mute, and so yes.
Be prepared, Jason. Be ready. I'll come at you any minute. So SMTP auth, like I said, we're connecting to office365.com. It's actually smtp.office365.com. Port 587, so using TLS or SSL, authenticating, sending, and see here where we can send mail to external recipients. So not really an external relay because you're authenticating, but you could say, hey, I'm Jane from accounting because you signed in as Jane from accounting, and then you can send it to somebody externally, but you can't spoof from internal to external. So some good features about that: allows you to send people in your organization and outside your company. This method of SMTP auth does bypass most spam checks for people in your organization. So if you password sprayed or you have a credential and you can sign in with SMTP this way, you can then send messages on behalf of that person. Now these do, when you SMTP auth to Microsoft 365, it does show up in the log files in Azure. So keep that in mind. Now, when you do this through the smart host unauthenticated, it does not show up in any log files. So I'll show you what the smart host looks like here. So if you can see this example, let me zoom in a little bit. So Microsoft likes to use the Contoso domain. So we have their mail endpoint being contoso-com mail.protection.outlook.com. So that is a smart host. That's what Microsoft calls a smart host. And you can actually telnet to this on port 25. You can enable TLS or start TLS or not. And then you can send emails just like you were sending with an SMTP program or some kind of mail clients right from the terminal. So when I was referred to this by a friend of mine, Mike Felch, or you stay ready on Twitter and GitHub. So I dove down this rabbit hole and found out that you can do all kinds of great things with this depending on the settings of the organization. But by default, the smart host, when you sign up for Exchange Online, this smart host is created. So most organizations will have this. And I got an error message to reload. Can you all still hear me?
I can hear you.
Steve?
Okay, great.
Steve, are you there?
Am I there?
Yeah, you're totally there.
All right, I'm not into the void. Good, my computer's just dying on me. So with that, we have things called SPF Records, so Sender Policy Framework. This tells basically whether or not who's sending the email, if they're authorized or not to send the email into the organization. And this is Microsoft recommended SPF setting is to include a static IP address and then include SPF protection.outlook.com, right? And then give it a soft fail. So this is a pretty lax setting by default. And we see many organizations, they don't have this IPv4 lockdown. We see the include for SPF protection. We may even see Proofpoint in there. And we'll talk about that a little bit as well. Proofpoint and other external mail gateways aren't really a mitigating factor to this unless they're set up correctly. So with direct send, we can do this programmatically, or we can telnet to it and send that way. We'll do this programmatically with PowerShell. There's a built-in, basically, mail commandlet that you can use. So we're going to send a spoof into this organization. We're going to do that live here. But what we're going to send is a device code phish. If you're not familiar with Microsoft device codes, then this is what one looks like. So if you go to Microsoft.com/device login, you'll get directed to this page to enter a code. So think about you sign up for Netflix app on your TV or something like that, and there's an easy way to get a device code, go on your laptop, sign in, and then it signs you in on your TV. This is that same premise. So what we can do is we can start up a session, send a code to our target. They enter the code in a legitimate Microsoft.com website, and it signs us in as them. Even doesn't bypass multi-factor, but if they use multi-factor, we get that authentication as well. And we can stay persistent for more than 90 days. So device codes are amazing. And if you would, check out this great blog post by my co-author, Bobby Cook, Bobby Cook has basically in this blog post walks you through how to set up an Exchange Online setup so you can send basically business emails back and forth, and you have your own online tenant, and you can use this to spoof yourself to test, or you can use this for real phishing engagements. He actually goes in here and tells you how to set up DKIM for your platform and everything, and then gets into how to send the device codes as well. So how do we get these device codes? We can use token tactics, which if you view my GitHub, rain in the links in here, have this token tactics repository, if it'll open up here for me. So basically this is a token manipulation tool. It is modular, so we can add and remove modules to it, commandlets and things like that. And what we do is we can phish with this. We generate that token, we send it via the spoof to our target user. That target user then signs in. We receive a refresh token and an access token. That refresh token is good for 90 days unless we keep refreshing it, then it keeps being good. The access token is good for, I believe, an hour. So not very long, but you can keep refreshing that. And the real powerful thing about token tactics is you can switch the context of the token. So if somebody logs into Microsoft Exchange, you can switch that token to, say, Microsoft Graph token or Exchange Management token or a couple others, so you could run tools like Bloodhound or Azure Hound in the cloud. Excuse me. So it's a really cool PowerShell script. All you have to do is import it. I'll show you how to do that as well. So please check that out. I also have my platform to send this phish being Microsoft Azure. So I actually logged into portal.azure.com with my account that I created going through Bobby's walkthrough. I clicked on the Cloud Shell, and I have a Cloud Shell here. So from this PowerShell Cloud Shell, you can use the send mail message commandlet to actually send an SMTP mail right from here. And the great thing about that is you get an Azure IP address. Okay, well that's weird. We see, Azure sending emails into our organization. We're going to block that IP. Okay, good call. Yeah, block the sender's IP. The sender then goes to sender.office.com, sender being me. I enter an email address. The IP address I want unblocked, the code, and then boom, boom, boom. That IP address is magically unblocked, and I can rephish from that IP address into that organization again within 30 minutes. So that's pretty dangerous that you can just unlist your IP address from the spam, or you can hit the power button here on your terminal and recycle to a new IP address. So send a campaign, recycle the IP, send a new campaign, things like that. So I cloned token tactics in here with the git clone command and then pointed it to my GitHub repository. So that is in here as token tactics. So you can see here we've got our modules here. So we're going to import module token tactics.psd1. All right, so that's all it took. Now I have token tactics imported. I can run git Azure token, and it does tab complete. Great thing about PowerShell. Client, we'll say let's get a MS graph token. And then we can say, so there are things called conditional access policies that may block you based on the type of device that you're connecting with or the app that you're connecting from, things like that, the IP that you're connecting from. So what we do is we tell, hey, let's say device iPhone. Now we pretend to be an iPhone. So if your organization is a little more lax on the security for iPhones and things like that, it might work. Oh yeah, we're doing this live, typing things down during stream. Yep. Always do it live. So there we go. So now we got our token right here, code FF34NBDTK. So if any of you out there went to Microsoft.com device login and signed in right now with that code, I would get your session. We don't want you to do that, so I'm going to go ahead and kill that. So that's how that works. And then once the user signs in, we receive the token and we can manipulate it from there. So I will show you how that works live here in a second. We need to prepare ourselves to send a phish. In my repo, I have a template that you can use. If you go to resources, Java redirect phish.html. There is another template up here, but Microsoft has blocked that now. That template is signatured, so if you send it, it just goes into nothingness. It doesn't come back with an error or anything. So use the Java redirect phish. And I'll show you why this one is good here in a minute. So what this does basically just puts a little Java redirect and formats an HTML email for you. So if I come back into here, I think I lost that shell. So I'll re-import that. Now from here, we can actually open this handy little session folder and pop open another session. That's what I did from this tab. The little plus folder that will open up another shell session. So I have 2 shell sessions to work from. One to send the phish, one to receive the phish. So in this shell, I'm going to receive not receive the phish, but modify the template and all that kind of stuff. So right here in the PowerShell prompt, there's a code editor. We can just open Microsoft Code, Visual Studio Code right there and have a handy text editor. So what you would do then is go here, go into your resources, open up Java redirect phish. You would modify this to your taste, put the target user's email address in there so it looks legit. This is actually a copy, somewhat of a copy of a legitimate Microsoft email that I received. So then we have the access token here that we'll replace. And what we want to do is assign this to a variable. So we'll say email equals get content resources Java redirect phish, and then we're going to outstring that. All right, so now we have that email in a variable. So now that I have the email in a variable, I'm going to just go up here. I should have a command ready. So this one, I'm going to spoof internal to internal. So what I'm going to do is, this is a domain I own, futuresec.io, mailprotection.outlook.com. So that's the smart host that I'm authenticating to, or not actually authenticating, but just sending it to. Then we have the subject. So I put, here comes the boom. Obviously going to make this device code. Please log in, something like that. Who it's to, so another user in the same tenant. Who it's from, the administrator. And then the body, which is the variable. And then we have to supply it the dash body as HTML flag so it knows that it's an HTML email. So what we would do is come over here, get our device token, copy that. I would then replace that in here. Oops, not Alt F save. But just three dots up here, hit save. We can then go back and reassign the content. And we're going to send our email. We get no word, but there we go. Here comes my email into my Kate Libby email box. If you're a Hackers movie fan out there, this one went to Kate Libby. And as you can see where it came from, account security, no reply, account protection.microsoft.com. a real Microsoft.com email that sends out these device codes. So you can spoof that you're coming from Microsoft. And it even presents you with the handy little Microsoft logo and everything. So then the user will take this code. They will go to Microsoft.com device login. Enter the code. Going to sign in as, let's sign in as me, since I'm already signed in.
Hoax Paragon brought up the point I'm making right now is I don't feel like this isn't good, right, Steve?
No, this isn't really good. So here we go. So I've got my token, so I can do response dot refresh token, and then I can out file that to refresh.txt. So there we go. So now I've got my refresh token. I can stay persistent. I can do all this. Now with this context, I can send emails as this user. I can access Azure as this user. I can do all kinds of stuff.
It really feels like someone from Microsoft should be on here going like, oh, geez, do you see what's happening right now? Like, right, Steve?
Right. So by default, most organizations are like this. I've phished countless orgs now this way. Well, countless as in I haven't been counting, but many, and every time they land in the inbox, whether they're an external phish or an internal phish. And this is against organizations that use Proofpoint, Microsoft, other third-party email gateways and things like that. And it's not because those things are bad. It's because of they're not configured properly to look for this type of thing. And one thing that blocks this is to restrict sending based on IP or certificate in Microsoft 365.
I feel like that should be like a big headline or something. If you could just repeat it one more time, what is the thing that blocks this?
The main mitigation for this spoofing is to block the sender based on IP, or even better, by certificate. So only a certain sender with a certificate can send emails on behalf of your organization.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Do you have more? I'm afraid that you do.
So yeah, the extent of what you can do with the token now is amazing, because we can open up the user's email. We can send Teams messages as that user into the organization, right? So put some nice links in there to some of our payloads and things like that. And just internal phish with Teams messages. It's another powerful way. You can even schedule, put things on other people's calendars, all kinds of fun stuff. So this is a great initial access vector to get into an organization's encompassing, protection area or attack surface.
And you already mentioned that one of your things have already been caught. It's a signature, and you can't use that phish anymore. And so. There's only been 2 times I've ever sat through a presentation where I was like, there was one, it was the calendar bomb that Bo and Mike. Yeah, that scared the crap out of me. And then this is 2. This is the second one where I'm like,
it's dangerous. And, end users, they see a phish coming from another internal user, they're more likely to click on it, or from like Microsoft, they're more likely to click on it. So we build that trust, and it's just unfortunate that this exists, but hopefully Microsoft does a little bit more to it, and there's ways to configure it so it doesn't affect your organization, right?
Sure.
And somebody mentioned, does DKIM stop this? No, DKIM doesn't stop the mail flow. How this works, the way I like to envision this is you have all your protections out here for your mail system, and we're connecting to the back end on the smart host back here, and we're sending. It may still go through there, but we're coming from a legitimate spot, and you can see that if you go to dmarkanalyzer.com, go to SPF checker. I'll put this link in the chat.
I just feel like this is getting worse as it goes on. Like worse as in like, God. It's fine.
So if we type that spf.protection.outlook.com in here, so this is the SPF that Microsoft recommends. Now, here are the IP addresses. Let's go back and look at, hopefully I don't prove myself wrong here, but we're in a 20 space. And if we unroll the records for, could be wrong here.
I see
it might be per, oh, there we go, 20. Yeah. So we are actually sending from an authorized endpoint, right? Because we're in their space using Azure to send the emails anyways.
I just realized how high my shoulders were.
If you try to send this from your house, it'll get blocked by Spam House. So that's why I use, Microsoft to actually do the sending to spoof Microsoft itself. What's better? Nothing. Makes my job easy, right?
Okay.
So yes, check your organizations, block this kind of stuff if you can. If you're on the offensive side, test this out against your clients, and hopefully you can improve their security postures.
I mean, that's the goal of all this. Like, we don't just say, here's the attack, here's also the mitigation, so that way people can fix it. And that's what we do as pen testers. We want to make the blue team better by showing them what's capable, because most people don't know you could do this until you know you can do this. So,
right.
Steve, you just let us know a thing that could be done.
And so we've got a couple of questions in there. One, do you have to be in their Azure or just an Azure? Well, you don't have to be in any Azure to send a phish, as long as you have a virtual private server or some way to route the traffic so it's not getting blocked by Spam House. So you could just SSH to another server, send it from there, install PowerShell for Linux. And thanks for those of you saying you want to join my class. I appreciate that. Looking forward to that. And are there any detections? Detections would be basically blocking this or looking for things coming from those IP ranges, right? Those Azure IP ranges, maybe they shouldn't be coming from in your SIM logs.
Mm-hmm. Maho asked if the calendar bomb is still valid, and the answer is we believe it is, which is why we never released the video.
Yeah.
That attack is so terrible that we didn't think there was a mitigation for it, so we decided we'll just let it sit. So.
Yep.
Serena, you got anything? I'm terrified. What about you?
Oh, just another day.
Another day, another scary thought.
Yeah, I just feel like every day I increasingly get more paranoid. Like anytime I don't have service on my phone, I'm like, someone's trying to SIM swap me.
I tell you what, the best defense that I've seen out there for this though is user awareness. Just be like, because I've done this spoof where I've spoofed help desk, and in a couple of occasions, one, the help desk email auto-generated help desk tickets in their ticketing system. So every time I sent a phishing email, it generated a ticket for it, which was not good for me. And then another one where I sent from help desk, they noticed that it didn't have like the signature and stuff at the bottom that help desk normally has. So the user's like, oh, this looks different. So user awareness is really the thing that stops us the most. It's not really the technical phishing controls. It's mostly, hey, user spots this, and then the campaign gets remediated.
Yeah. I mean, our own internal phishing systems team caught me in probably my favorite phish, where they got me so well that I definitely check everything now. And it wasn't like a bad phish. It wasn't like tricking me. It was just like it played off of my pride and everything else. And I was like, oh, what's that? And I was like, good one, guys. So especially at Black Hills, where people want to attack us. It's not nice. So we're definitely on the high alert. But now that you've done this,
I need another shirt now. I need a shirt that says your email address is my email address.
Yeah, we can work on that. Any other questions before we wrap for today? says, is there a key view on the BHIS site that covers remediation?
Knowledge base.
No.
No, but if you can visit my blog is up there, and let me link that real quick just in case somebody doesn't have it.
Yeah,
oh,
in fact,
that.
No, when this blog went live at the end of last month, it had the most traffic of any blog that we've had this year. Like, this thing went viral. Like, I was scanning through my Google, like my normal Google News, and it showed up as something that I might read. So this definitely got a lot of traffic. So hopefully all the people that read it are mitigating it now.
Yep.
So Steve, do you form every GitHub repo that you use?
Oh, yes. So my GitHub is a treasure trove of knowledge, not just for the fact that I publish my own stuff out there, but that I literally anything that comes by Twitter that's offensive security, I click on fork, and it's all on my GitHub. It stays updated, auto pulls, and all that kind of stuff. So if you ever just want to go peruse offensive tools, go to my GitHub, and there's quite a list.
Yep. Also, Malware Monty, thanks for following. Altcoin Inc. Altco Inc. Yeah. Well, thanks for following. You can also subscribe to the channel now on Twitch, and if you do, I think we're going to teach So John Strand's going to teach an entire SOC class, at least as of today. We believe we're going to teach an entire SOC training class, 4 hours, 4 days, 4 hours a day, total 16 hours plus labs, plus everything, all in Twitch. So it'll be completely free. Recordings will be available, but I think what we're going to do is subscribers can chat, and that would just cut down on the amount of people, like the amount of spam and things, and people are like Bitcoin. So that will cut down on that. So if you want to subscribe, all the money from the subscribers goes to an open source project or to a charity, hacker related charity. So if you want to subscribe, please do. Anything before we get going here, Steve?
No, thanks all for joining. Appreciate your attendance and look forward to seeing some of you again in class.
Yeah. Steve's got a class coming up in, Serena?
No, I was just saying thanks.
Yeah. Steve's got a class coming up from Antisyphon. It is our affordable training option that we do for the community. And the reason why we do it is because we wanted to train, but we didn't want it to cost too much money. But we also wanted to make sure that the amount of time and effort that we put into it covered the cost of doing it. So we're big fans of breaking even here at Antisyphon and Black Hills. Like, as long as we break even, we're happy.
Don't forget to visit us at Wild West Hackfest. Woo!
Are those happy?
Those are happy fingers.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time. So we'll be back next Tuesday and Wednesday. And at some point, Serena's going to start doing walkthroughs of our cyber range.
Ooh,
I'm excited about
that.
Can't wait.
All right, everybody. Ryan.